Hello everyone, my name is the Independent Kid, and today my presentation is about evolution and natural selection. What is natural selection? Natural selection is when there is not enough resources for all the species, and the species best suited for the current environment will survive and reproduce. What is evolution? Evolution is when a species with a random change is better able to live and reproduce, passing on that random change to future generations. Why did I choose finches for my presentation? Well, the finches in the Galapagos gave Charles Darwin an idea that inspired Darwin to eventually publish his book on the origin of species in the year 1859, and they led to his theories of evolution and natural selection. Here's a picture of Charles Darwin in his early 40s. Charles Darwin was born on February 12, 1809. Even though he published on the origin of species in the year 1859, it actually took 11 years for the scientific community and most people to believe him. The voyage of the Beagle began in 1831 and lasted almost 5 years. The Beagle was a ship. While on the voyage, Charles Darwin realized that specimens of the same species in the Galapagos looked different than the ones in South America, and the ones in the Galapagos were almost perfectly adapted. Here's the voyage of the Beagle. The voyage of the Beagle began in here, Plymouth in the United Kingdom. They went down around South America, hit the Galapagos, went westward around the world, and got all the way back to Plymouth in the United Kingdom. Upon arriving back to the United Kingdom, Charles Darwin studies his finch specimens, although he did not know that they were all finches. He realizes almost every species are different, but they all came from the Galapagos, which means each island requires a certain adaptation. He also realizes that they're all finches and believes they descended from a common ancestor somewhere in South America that look different. Here are two diagrams of finches. The one on the left was made by Charles Darwin himself, and the one on the right is a more modern, different one. As you can see, this large ground finch right here has a big beak, which means it probably eats nuts and seeds, while this warbler finch has a very tiny beak, which probably is for eating insects instead. Charles Darwin died on April 19, 1882, at age 73. Here's my prediction for the future evolution of finches. Recently, one of Darwin's finches evolved again. This time, it was because another bird started eating its food. It evolved to stop eating seeds and to start eating insects. Its beak, therefore, became smaller. I predict something similar. I think all the birds will eventually have to change food sources once they all run out. How do we affect evolution? 1. We can move an animal to a different location. 2. We could use up all the resources it needed and force the species to eventually evolve or die off. And 3. We could also pollute where it lives. Example of this is the Manchester moth. In the 1800s, a white moth in Manchester started to stand out because of all the pollution. The pollution created coats of black soot everywhere. Therefore, the white moth did not blend in with black. Very quickly, the black moths which blended in took over, and suddenly all the common white moths were gone. Why are evolution and natural selection so important? Well, if something happens to a species, it might evolve or die off to be replaced by another evolving species. This might eventually happen to humans if we change the climate and the earth too much. Thanks for watching. Woo! That was awesome! Woo! Get on my presentation!